Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marla McGuinness, and I will be your moderator for today's post-cabinet media availability. I'd like to introduce Premier Tim Houston, Premier of Nova Scotia, who has some brief remarks to start us off.
Yeah, thank you, Marla. Thanks, everyone. Good afternoon. When I ran to be Premier of Nova Scotia, I promised I would be a solutionist, and that word means something to me. It means that you look at every issue and every opportunity with fresh eyes. It means you don't let politics or ideology or historical ways some things have been done get in the way of finding the best solution to whatever challenge lies in front of you. It also means having the humility to recognize when you get something wrong, learn from those mistakes, and do better. And that's why I'm here before you now. I want to tell you today we're no longer going forward with the non-resident property tax. The deed transfer will stay, but the property tax itself will not apply. The reputation of our province is more important than any policy, and it's certainly more important than my personal pride. Nova Scotia is a welcoming province, and I want that message to be heard loud and clear. I've heard for months from Nova Scotians who are concerned about housing affordability and want to be able to buy their first home in the community they were raised in. My intention all along, the intentions of our government all along, were to improve home affordability. That was never meant to be at odds with our core value, the core value of our government, the core value of our province, which is being more welcoming. So today I'll put my personal pride to the side. This policy was an effort to find a solution. It was always meant to be a tool to support housing. But when you realize that the tool you have in your hand might not get the job done, you look for another tool. And I commit to finding a tool to make home affordability, particularly for first-time home buyers, a reality in this province. Happy to take your questions.
I can't remember what day it was. Your State of the Province address, was it just yesterday or the day before? You softened the blow. What have you learned between then and now that tells you that it's no longer worth fighting this fight?
Yeah, I think that the policy from the beginning was a policy that I supported. Then we made some tweaks that we thought would make it more fair, but really this comes down to the reputation of our province, and I believe the risk of reputational damage to Nova Scotia is becoming more and more real, and it's something I'm not willing to accept. So we'll find another way to address the housing issue.
Were you surprised at how the changes you announced earlier this week were received?
I think it's just the overall reputational risk. I mean, certainly when any policy position you put forward, there's always a mix. There's always people for or against. But I think that for me, what it just clearly is about the reputation of this province being a welcoming province. That's not something that I'm not willing to allow that to be risked.
But further to Jean's question, I think we'd like to know what's changed in just a couple days. A couple days ago, you thought that it would be enough to really sort of carve out some territory around smaller cabins and cottages and things, and now you're getting rid of it entirely. What's changed in just a couple days? Yeah,
I think this has been something that's been weighing heavy on me for a long time since the feedback came. We were all obviously constantly processing feedback, constantly assessing what does it mean for the province, and I think just the reputation of the province. I can't state that strong enough. When I see our reputation be put at risk, it's not something that I'm willing to let stand. So that has to be at the forefront of every policy decision. And there's reputational risk to the province, and I'm not willing to accept it.
When Minister McMaster first introduced these changes, and we asked him about them, he acknowledged that there was no data. It was going to take time to get data, to understand the implications of this. Looking back on this now, did you folks rush into this without doing your due diligence before
No.
presenting it to the public.
No, I don't accept that. I know Jean wrote that this was a hurried or rushed policy or something in one of his articles, but I don't accept that. These are policies that we're always running a number of analysis on every policy decision we do. There's nothing that's done. There's nothing. But what I would say is sometimes it's difficult to anticipate where something might go in the minds of the public. And I did not anticipate that the reputation of our province as a welcoming province will be put at risk. This is a welcoming province, and I won't allow anything to undermine the welcoming nature of this province. We did lots of analysis on this particular policy, but we did not foresee that this would change the view of Nova Scotia in the eyes of people. And I'm not going to allow that risk to stand.
The reason why I asked the question, I guess, is because the response from municipalities in particular that host a lot of seasonal residents seemed to suggest that it came out of left field for them, that they weren't consulted, and that had they been, they could have pretty easily informed your government of A, the contributions that these folks make to their respective municipalities, but B, how it was probably going to go over. It seems like if there had been more consultation done here, you all would have got the necessary heads up of what was awaiting you after the budget was tabled.
Look, I think any hindsight is very effective, very effective. In hindsight will be accurate 100% of the time. I wish I could make policy decisions only based in hindsight. So there'll be many people who say I told you so, and that's okay. But I have to be able to put my hand on my heart and look in the mirror on making sure that what we're doing is looking forward on how we address the housing crisis, looking forward on how we address healthcare. Any one of those issues, you could look in the mirror and say, come to a conclusion on that. The reputational risk to Nova Scotia is far more value than any policy. So today we'll put the policy to the side, and we'll focus on Nova Scotia's reputation, and we'll find other ways to
dealing with
address
the
this.
housing crisis. Would you also rethink the cap that's put on landlords for charging their tenants and 2.2%? It's hard on people who have individual homes and have people in it with the skyrocketing inflation, oil, power's going up another 10%.
Well, the cap, you have to remember, and this is back to I think it's been referenced, the report that Premier Ham did, and the issue at that time was keeping people in their homes. The issue today is, in many ways, getting people in homes. Those are different things. The cap protects a lot of people across the province, particularly in rural communities, and oftentimes our seniors. So the cap has always been an ongoing discussion, but it's not something that's on my radar to change right now.
But you originally said that it was something that you wouldn't do. And then I still don't understand how it's actually going to keep people in their homes when let's say your landlord who owns the house can no longer afford to have that person in there.
I want to go back to the first part. What was something that I said I wouldn't do?
To continue on with the 2% cap that the Liberals.
You're on the rent cap, not the property tax cap.
Right. I'm changing it because you'd mentioned. The rent cap.
The rent cap is in place for that's been put in place for sure. Also helps people stay in their homes, and that was extended for a period of time. That extension stands.
Premier, why didn't your government anticipate...
Is that the question? Not the question?
Well, I don't think that's the answer I'm looking for. It still doesn't help anybody.
Premier, I just wondered why, I take you at your word that you did all the homework on this particular file, and we're back to the non-resident tax. Why didn't you anticipate that there would be this kind of backlash?
We run a lot of analysis. What I didn't anticipate was that somebody, anyone, let alone a number of people, would attempt to paint Nova Scotia as unwelcoming. That's not the case. This is a very welcoming province, this policy or not. But that is not an image of this province that I'm willing to let stand. So for any policy and for any amount of anything, this is a welcoming province. That's the message. We do have a housing crisis. We do have issues in healthcare. We're going to get to work on all those. But sometimes you have to acknowledge which direction you're going.
You said in your remarks it became more and more real. Could you take us through that? Like, at what point obviously you've had national newspaper op-eds saying that it's not welcome. Was that it, or at what point did it become more and more real for you?
Just accumulation of things. Just listening to a number of voices from who were offering different perspectives on how this made them feel about Nova Scotia, and that's Nova Scotians as well.
How much did the businesses saying they were going to change their plans because of this tax weigh in your decision?
There's a lot of factors. I mean, certainly, no, I don't think any Nova Scotian would want to hear that somebody's making a business decision or changing a business decision or backing away from the province. That's part of it for sure. But there are many parts to it, all pointing to the overall risk to our reputation. There's many parts to this. So I won't allow our reputational risk to stand. We're taking a number of steps to address the housing crisis already with the task force, with many investments, and we'll continue on with those, and we'll look for other ways to support those Nova Scotians who are
Do you think
struggling.
part of the problem, though, in selling this tax was that people weren't convinced it really was going to help the housing crisis? That there was a lot of skepticism?
There's lots of parts to it, but again, overall, I mean, every policy should be and can be debated and will be debated in many forms and formats. This was certainly got a lot of debate. I heard a lot of thoughtful commentary on this. But it's the overriding thing. It's the reputation of this province.
Premier, this was supposed to raise $65.5 million, and a couple of weeks ago you said in the House that the government needed that money. You're counting on it to pay for other programs. How big a problem is it for the province that you're now really giving up on that stream of revenue?
We have a $500 million deficit to begin with, so we have a lot of work to do on building the economy of this province, and we'll continue to look for ways to support Nova Scotians, protect Nova Scotians while building the economy. So there's a lot of work to be done for sure.
Premier, when it comes to the rising costs in oil, I wanted to ask you a little bit about gas prices and helping Nova Scotians, everyday Nova Scotians. Is this province in any way looking at any supports to help Nova Scotians with the rising cost of fuels?
Constantly. Obviously, we did a first tranche of supports before the budget, about $13 million, different ways to support particularly vulnerable Nova Scotians, and we're continuing to do that. The reality is that the world events, world price impacts what we pay for fuel here in this province, and we'll look for ways to support Nova Scotians who are under incredible pressure from the cost of living. There's no question. Everything is putting pressure on Nova Scotians. So we're constantly looking for ways to support them.
Would you ever adjust any, carbon taxing or things like that, or offer any type of maybe one-time payments to Nova Scotia? I'm just wondering.
I would say everything is open for debate, but we have to recognize that the volatility of the prices of fuel in particular will only subside when world events aren't as they are today. With obviously the tragedy of the war and other events impacting supply. So we accept the reality that the world price impacts Nova Scotians in a very real way, and then we accept that challenge to look for ways to support those Nova Scotians through other programs, and we'll continue to do that.
To what degree was this decision influenced? You've already talked about how much you were hearing, but I got to think that your caucus colleagues, particularly those on the South Shore, And in Cape Breton, we're hearing a lot about this too. To what degree did the concerns that they were hearing from folks who live in their districts influence this decision?
Oh, look, I have incredible respect for my caucus colleagues. I listen very closely when they speak, and on this issue, that's no different. I listen very closely when they share what they're hearing in their constituencies. It has a huge impact on me and on our government, and this is no different.
But I guess what I mean is, were they coming to you, and I'm not asking specifically for names, but just anecdotally, like I'm thinking of Kim Maslin, Susan Corcoran Creek, Becky Druin, and Danielle Barkhouse. Were they coming to you and saying, we're taking a lot of heat over this. This is not going over well?
I think that the discussions at caucus are always fulsome on every issue. That's the type of government that I want to lead, where people are very frank on how they feel about positions that we take, and that's an important factor in all the decisions we make. This is no different.
On a totally different note, if I could, because I know you got to leave soon, but the government has had no success when it has come to the matters in the BC Supreme Court vis-a-vis Northern Pulp. So you're now in a situation where you are forced into a mediation you don't want. Creditor protection has been extended through to the end of October. Where is the province going with this at this point? What is the next step for the province in all of this?
Continue to protect Nova Scotians. I mean, that's everything we do, and I think people would see that is always putting Nova Scotians at the forefront. So our positions have been laid out in those court documents, and we'll continue to advocate for Nova Scotians in that process.
Is it your expectation that you will continue to pursue a defense against the lawsuit here in Nova Scotia?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Premier, is the art gallery project going ahead this year?
The art gallery. So the previous government made a commitment there. We're honoring that commitment. I think we want to double the population of this province. If you want to double the population of the province, you have a world-class province and world-class city, and I'm a big believer in the value of arts and culture, so we're happy to continue the commitment that the prior government made. Of course, we're watching very closely to again protect Nova Scotians and make sure that the investment that the province has put forward remains inside that envelope.
The art gallery board doesn't have quorum. There are only 6 members. It's too short of a quorum right now. The art gallery is an acting CEO because the board somehow, without a quorum, got rid of her in February. Who has oversight of this project right now?
The board does, but the minister, the government is very involved in making sure. Again, that the commitment of the province we have no interest in allowing this file to run out of control. It's not going to happen.
Excuse me. On a much lighter note, the World Junior is reportedly coming to the Maritimes. I guess, what's your reaction? What are your specific expectations, and what discussions have you had about this event?
So obviously, we would be excited for it to come here. Our fingers and toes remain crossed on that particular issue. Haven't had any formal communication on that, but certainly that event would have a tremendously positive impact on the province, and we're hopeful, and we'll continue to wait formal word.
You're leaving for Europe tomorrow. What tangible results are you hoping to get out of this trip?
There's a number of stops on the trip for sure. So the overriding thing is promoting Nova Scotia and all that Nova Scotia has to offer. We'll be visiting Michelin, of course, 50 years in Nova Scotia. So we'll be paying our thanks and respect to them for their commitment to the province. And then the other types of meetings will be around healthcare technologies, will be around energy. Title. So I'm excited about the opportunity to meet with people who are interested in helping us move Nova Scotia forward.
As you know, what's happening south of the border with the Roe versus Wade debate, I wondered whether or not nationally the Conservative Party has a number of candidates who would like to reopen the debate. I wondered for your thoughts on whether or not that would be healthy and wise right now.
Can't obviously can't comment on any federal politicians from any of the parties. Obviously, it's well known that I'm not a member of any federal party and not engaged in any political discussions with any federal parties. I have a very close relationship with the government, which I value tremendously. But I personally I'm pro-choice, and this is a province that has. Respects the rights of women to choose, and I certainly do.
That's all the time we have for questions today. Thank you,
Thanks,
Premier.
Premier.
Okay, thanks everyone.